Hello, dear fans, friends, and subscribers. This is your host Ram with you on the Sunday edition of the Cricket Happening Show. And what I have for you today is England have avoided the clean sweep by Australia as they drew the fourth Test match amidst a heavy drama at the SCG, and the last pair of James Anderson and Stuart Broad survived the Australian part-time spinner of Stephen Smith and finally eked out a draw for England, and that left. And at least I thought England would have been very happy with this. Finally, they have not allowed Australia to win. But what a game we had on the final day, which I'm going to recount for you as I talk to you here. That is one. The second thing is New Zealand, who in the first test match against Bangladesh, received a real humiliating defeat against Bangladesh, but came up absolutely on top as they hammered the Bangladeshi bowlers to all parts of the ground, racing 349 for one on the at close of play on the first day of the second test between both the teams, with the captain Latham 186 not out at stumps, and Devon Conway, the man who is going to be New Zealand's future for sure, was 99 not out. He's going to get one more century. What a player. I think Devon Conway will be the next Kane Williamson for New Zealand for sure. Now, the other match, West Indies versus Ireland. Ireland are in West Indies, and the first one-day internationals played where the West Indies defeated Ireland by 24 runs, where Ireland definitely tried their best, but they finished short by 24 runs. I'll come back to that. But first, I'm going to enact the final day's play in the Ashes Test series between Australia and England. And what a relief for England as the last wicket pair of James Anderson and Stuart Broad eked out a draw for their team, and everyone would have heaved a sigh of relief. As I said, England were definitely showing great signs of improvement. But now let me get into, so there'll be more of England and Australia. Probably I will be covering, my majority of my talk would be on England Australia because I just want to enact it for you. So England resumed on their opening score, on the score overnight score of I think it was 30 for none, with Zach Crawley and Hasib Hamid opening the innings. Hasib Hamid, I have to say, is probably I don't think he will be there for the final test match. I think his place will be taken by someone for sure. The reason I say that is because Hasib Hamid has been found absolutely wanting outside the off stump. He is someone, he gets into some, he's a good player, but I think he needs to work on his game, because what happens is that he gets squared up quite easily, and this time it was Bolland. And Bolland is someone who just, moves the ball in a he has just that subtle variation, and that really gets the batsman. And that's one of those deliveries which claimed Hasib Hamid's wicket, as Hasib Hamid was caught by Carey of the bowling of Bolland for 9. The first time Carey could not take the nick, but this time he held it with both hands, and Hasib Hamid had to go. So an early wicket for Australia. Hasib Hamid gone, caught Carey Bolland for 9, no boundaries. Now Zach Crawley was joined in by David Mallon, and Zach Crawley, what an innings. And before that, David Mallon was a victim as he tried to cut a ball from Nathan Lyon. Nathan Lyon was bowling wide of the crease, and the ball probably, he pitched it on a good length spot, and David Mallon wanted to just cut it, but before even David Mallon attempted, but the ball was really zipping through, and that was the end of David Mallon. Clean bowl by Nathan Lyon for 4, and England were 74 for 2, but the majority of the runs was scored by none other. If you see, the score is 74 with only Hasib Hamid and David Mallon contributing 13 runs together. It is the man, opener Zach Crawley. What a player. I mean, I think he has already been touted by the experts now. Actually, Ricky Ponting on Channel 7 raved about him, saying that he's a good player that England has now. And looking at the way he played, he looks very easy on the eye, and he's very tall and upright. And as he strokes the ball, he really strokes the ball to a nicety. He hit some nice strokes down the ground, and he was very good on the pull shot as well. And he plays with lots of confidence. And that was really good to see that Zach Crawley was making batting look absolutely effortless. And that's what you want to see. And I think England are definitely seeing the beginning. I know that a person who scored 260 odd runs against Pakistan can't be like that. But definitely Zach Crawley yesterday exhibited some superior strokes and really showed that class that England have been lacking. Zach Crawley made 77 runs, 13 boundaries in that as Joe Root joined him. But the third wicket to go was Zach Crawley himself. He was playing superbly, but Cameron Green had really set him up. He was bowling the ball on the channel of the on around the off stump, and finally he snuck in a beautiful Yorker, which was absolutely, one could call it was an absolute toe crusher as the ball went and hit the toe of Zach Crawley, and Crawley had to walk back to the pavilion. But what an innings from him! He was the one. If you look at the score, he walked out to the pavilion with the score on 96 for 3, with the lion's share being done by Zach Crawley. He was LBW bowled Green for 77. He had 13 forces embedded into that because it was really a sort of a shining light for England. Zach Crawley, what a knock from Zach Crawley. Joe Root was joined in by the very the mercurial all-rounder who was not really fired on all cylinders in this series. Absolutely, one can understand that. The reason being, he has been braving that with injury. And that's what, again, we saw that Ben Stokes, one of the strokes that he played was an absolute stunner as he showed the full face of the bat and the ball was just pushed down to the boundary. And also, he unveiled some nice pull shots, hook shots, but really felt for Ben Stokes. Every time he used to play a forceful stroke, he used to grimace, and one can understand the pain that he was going through. I think full credit to Ben Stokes for playing an innings of an absolute, a very good innings from Ben Stokes under the circumstances, and also coming in coming and playing under the England flag there, even though he had a very serious injury. Well done, Ben Stokes. Joe Root contributed 24. And once again, it was that man, Bolland, who actually got Joe Root to get the third time he has done it. And this was again on the channel, on and outside the off stump. And that was Root, was sucked in. And Root touched the ball. And that was it. Carey behind the wickets did the rest. Root was gone, caught Carey, bowled for 24. And that was the fourth wicket for the Englishman, which was gone. Now it was Ben Stokes, as I said, was definitely playing with a lot of pain, and in walked another player who had injured his thumb, Johnny Bairstow. Johnny Bairstow took his time at the crease, gave company to Ben Stokes, and as this partnership was just moving at that time, Bairstow, yes, definitely played a few strokes, but he was pretty watchful at that, and then and then there was a rain which came there, and probably one thought that rain is something that could help England. The rain was there for not a fleeting moment. It was there for some time. But SCG has good draining facilities, and also they have good floodlights as well. But Ben Stokes and Johnny Bairstow at the crease, and the next to go was Johnny Bairstow. After contributing 41 with 3 boundaries, he was a victim of the bowling. This was of the victim of Bolland. And Bolland, as you know, at the age of 32, this man is getting wickets right, left, and center. Where was he in Australia? That was the question of the commentators yesterday, saying, where was he? At the age of 32, he makes his debut and comes here. And in this Ashes, he has taken already 13 wickets, I am told. Really, and I like the way Bolland operates. He gets into the channel on and outside the off stump, and he really keeps the batsman guessing as to whether to play or not to play. And in the end, the batsman hangs his bat, and it's all over. So once again, it was Bolland, and this was Bairstow going back to the pavilion. as there was a silly mid-off in place for Johnny Barristow, and Labuschagne took the catch and he was gone. Josh Butler came in to join Ben Stokes. Butler also, unfortunately, I have to say that Josh Butler will be returning home to England, so there will be no Josh Butler in the final test match. As Josh Butler, now this was the time when Ben Stokes was looking good. Ben Stokes was really staying there. He's already got a 50. He was well entrenched at the crease with 60 to his name. And that was the time Patrick Cummins struck. Patrick Cummins came in. Nathan Lyon, who picked up the big wicket of Ben Stokes, actually. Nathan Lyon got a ball to Ben Stokes, again on a good length. But the problem for Ben Stokes was that there was plenty of bounce and there was lots of turn as well. And Stokes was really into two minds to what to do, whether to go and play at the ball. And before he could do that, he tried to get a bit on the back foot. And by the time he did that, the ball had taken the edge of the bat and nicely gone for a sharp low catch to Stephen Smith. And that was the end of Ben Stokes. And one thought that with Ben Stokes going back to the pavilion, it was all over for England. Caught Smith bowled Lyon for 60, 10 fours and 1 6. Now, it was a matter of two new batsmen at the crease. It was the tailenders, Mark Wood and Jack Leach at the crease. It was Josh Butler and Mark Wood at the crease. Josh Butler had just come in and Mark Wood had just joined him. The next to go was Josh Butler. Now, Josh Butler, it was Cummins. Now, Cummins got a really wonderful inducker, which came into Butler. It hit him on the back pad, and it was all over. It really came in really sharply, and that was the end of Josh Butler. Elbitter ball Cummins for 11, and then Mark Wood, who biffed a few in the first innings, could not do much, as in the same over, Mark Wood was also gone on the final delivery of Cummins. Cummins actually got him LBW, and that was it. He had hit him on the toe, and Mark Wood was gone for a blob. And now Australia were definitely in sight of the fourth consecutive victory in the Ashes, as the score at 218 for 7. And there was Jack Leach. Now there were two new batsmen at the crease, and both two tailenders, Jack Leach and Stuart Broad. Yes, we know that Jack Leach can bat a bit as well. Stuart Broad can also, but still, they were not recognized batters. Jack Leach and Stuart Broad, the tension was building there at SCG. The crowd was really getting more raucous, one could say, as Jack Leach and Stuart Broad were there. And suddenly we saw the lights had to be put on. The umpire said that if the pace bowlers were to bowl, then probably they had to troop out. But so that's the precise reason Marnus Labuschagne and Stephen Smith were put into operation by Cummins. And Stephen Smith and Jack Leach, I have to say, he did a good job. He never looked like getting out, and he was keeping the bowlers. He was just playing the balls that Smith and Labuschagne were bowling, and the floodlights were on at the SCG, and Stuart Broad had joined him. Stuart Broad was also keeping everything at bay. Jack Leach also hit 2 fours, but then Stephen Smith picked up a wicket. This was the time when the score was 270 at that stage, and it was Stephen Smith was the bowler. So they had 2 overs to go on the final day of the mandatory overs, as we call it, for the day to end. And on the penultimate over, the last delivery, there was a wicket, as Jack Leach, after defending in a very dour manner, was gone. As Stephen Smith got, and what he did is that Stephen Smith actually put the ball onto the foot marks, and Jack Leach was taken in. He was probably playing for the turn, and he actually deflected it. He actually got a touch onto it, and it was the end of him. Caught Warner after it ricocheted off the caddy's gloves, and Warner took the catch. Jack Leach was gone for 26, 2 boundaries. And now it was, as I said, the crowd was probably sensing an Australian victory, as James Anderson was coming in to join Stuart Broad at the wicket at that particular stage. James Anderson walked in. He was hemmed in by closing fielders. The bowler was Stephen Smith. It was the final over, and Australians had tremendous support. There was tremendous booing by the crowd. The crowd was really, there was a a tremendous noise at the SCG, and Stuart Broad and James Anderson. And James Anderson had to survive 6 deliveries of Stephen Smith. And James Anderson was the hero. As he did that, he kept on prodding. He kept to Stephen Smith, and finally, when the last ball was coming, everybody were on tenterhooks there, especially the England players and the England fans, I suppose. But James Anderson kept it away, and that was the draw which was eked out by England. Stuart Broad remained not out on 8. James Anderson walked back with his head high without scoring any runs for the 6 balls, and that was it. The Englishmen had saved the clean sweep. Absolutely, congratulations to England. Finally, they managed to redeem some lost pride that they lost in the 3 test matches in the Ashes. Mitchell Starc, 10 for 68, the wickets, 2 for 80 for Pat Cummins, 3 for 30 for Bolland. Bolland, I think, if you look at these bowling figures, I would say that Scott Bolland probably will be entering the one-day arena for Australia. 24 overs, 11 maidens, 30 runs and 3 wickets. And he has been economical, and I think he will be a good candidate for one-day internationals and T20s. Nathan Lyon, 2 for 28, 1 for 38, Cameron Green. Stephen Smith, 1 for 10, as I said, because of the Labuschagne and Stephen Smith had to bowl. And that was it. And that was a moral victory for England. And finally, they avoided the clean sweep by the Aussies. So definitely, they would be breathing a sigh of relief, and they will be marching. They will be getting themselves set for the day-night encounter, which will be played at Hobart in Tasmania in the final Test match of the Ashes. So now I'm quickly going to jump in now, because I took a long time talking about Australia versus England. So let me go on to the New Zealand versus Bangladesh. New Zealand versus Bangladesh is the first day of the second. First day is played the second test at the Hagley Oval in Christchurch. Bangladesh, as you know, had made history in the first test by surprising one and all and getting their maiden victory over New Zealand. But this time, New Zealand came in with very, very strongly. New Zealand batted first, and at close of play, they were placed with 349 for 1, with everybody getting 50s. Instead, Tom Latham was not out on 186 with 28 boundaries, and he was pretty strong on the offside. Will Young, definitely, as I already telling that he is someone who's coined in for the future. He made 54 with 5 boundaries. Devon Conway is going to yet another century. And as I said, he would be the next Kane Williamson of New Zealand. Devon Conway was not out on 99, 10 fours and 1 6. 349 for 1 was what New Zealand closed at. The bowling, I'm not going to go much. There's only one person who took the wicket, Shariful Islam, 1 for 50. The hero of the first at Abidat Hussain, 21 overs, 1 maiden, 114 runs and no wicket. And I thought Taskin Ahmed bowled well. I mean, if you look at it, a few catches were grasped, no doubt about it. A few overthrows as well. So definitely the fielding was a bit shoddy on the Bangladesh side. And that was it. So now let me get on to the West Indies versus Ireland. As far as West Indies versus Ireland was concerned, this was the Ireland tour of the United States of America and West Indies. And the first ODI was played at Kingston Savannah Park in Jamaica. And West Indies won the first one-day international against Ireland by 24 runs. For West Indies, 269 was put on the board. But the man who really made a big difference was Shamar Brooks. Shamar Brooks making his test debut making his ODI debut for West Indies. What a knock from him! It was really a splendid knock, and he played some gorgeous strokes on either side of the wicket, as his contribution was 93 of 89 deliveries, which included 9 fours and 3 sixes. And he got company from the West Indian captain Kieron Pollard, who contributed 69 of 66. He hit 4 fours and 4 sixes. And other than that, 29 coming from Shai Hope, as 269 was what West Indies put on the board. Looking at the bowling, Josh Little, 1 for 46. Mark Adair looked very good, 8.5 overs, 138 runs and 3 wickets. Craig Young were a bit costly, 56 runs sleek, but 3 wickets in his bag. Curtis Camphor, 1 for 47. Andy McBride, 252. Ireland were given a target of 270 runs to win from the 50 overs, and they finished 24 runs short. 245 was their tally, as they were bowled out in 49.1 overs. Looking at the card there, the captain played a wonderful knock of 71, he and Harry Tector were doing a good job. They were really setting the pace for Ireland to carry on, but it was not to be. Andy Balboni, 71 of 94 deliveries, 7 fours and 1 6. Andy McBride had to retire hurt, so that was a bit sad. He was looking good. 34 of 50, 5 fours. He had a concussion, and he was replaced by Neil Rock, I reckon. If you see it, yes, he was replaced by Neil Rock. Harry Tector, another impressive player, was giving good company to Andy Balbini in the chase, making 53 of 68, 5 fours and 1 6. Dockrell made 30, but Mark Adair gave them some hope, even though the run rate was really spiraling. I thought Mark Adair in the end hit out, but that was it. Some sort of consolation for Ireland. He was not around 21 of 9 deliveries, which included 3 huge sixes. And 245 was the final tally. West Indies winning the first ODI by 24 runs. Looking at the bowling there, 1 wicket apiece to Jason Holder, 1 for 48, 1 for 35 for Akil Hussain, who gave them the breakthrough. Alzari Joseph, 3 for 55. Romario Shepherd was good, 3 for 50. Orion Smith, 5.2 for 26. And there were, as I said, there were 3 debutants for West Indies. Justin Greaves, Orion Smith, and Shamar Brooks. And for Ireland, because of the Andy McBride going in the middle with the concussion, he was replaced by Neil Rock, who was making his ODI debut. Well, dear fans of the Tabers, an absolute pleasure bringing you this cricket show. I hope you all liked it, and looking forward to your company once again. Definitely, again, we'll be going to the weekend. With again, if at all you still want to keep an eye on me, one is you can go on to the Twitter page where at Ram 574 you can go on to that. You can go on to my website www.cricket-status.com. You also have one more option. I am also on the Cricket Buddies group. If at all you want to go there, you can also look at my small notes that I write on cricket. Well, dear fans of clubs, an absolute pleasure bringing you this cricket show as usual, and looking forward to your company once more on either on next Saturday or Sunday. Until then, it's Ram, your host for this cricket show, hitting the wind-up button. Thank you.